I didn't plan to ever talk about this publicly. Not because I'm scared of getting in trouble, or because I think anyone's going to sue me or anything like that. I'm saying that because the more time passes, the more I realize how easily it could have been worse. And the weirder part is, it wasn't one big dramatic moment. It was a series of small mistakes by people who thought they were doing the right thing that added up to something that still messes with me. This happened during my second year at university. Same campus, same buildings, same security staff, same intercom voice, and one stupid simple detail that became the theme of all of it: a door that wouldn't stay locked. I'm going to tell you 4 stories. They're connected, and you'll see why at the end. Story 1. The test day. It was a normal day, like painfully normal. I had a midterm in my statistics class, and I'd done that thing where you convince yourself you're prepared, but you're not actually prepared. You're just tired. The classroom was on the 3rd floor of one of the older buildings, one of those halls that always smells like dust and dry marker ink, and the lights buzz even when nobody talks. Our professor was the kind of guy who didn't look up from his laptop much. He'd say, "Okay, begin," and the whole room would go dead quiet, except for pens and sniffles. That's exactly how it started. Everyone bent over their papers, nobody daring to cough too loud. Then the intercom popped. It didn't blast at first. It did that soft crackle like it wasn't sure it was connected. And then the voice came through. Not the professor, not a student. It was campus security, but not the usual calm voice you hear during drills. This voice sounded like it was trying to stay steady and failing. "Attention, this is campus security. Initiate lockdown procedures immediately. This is not a drill. Repeat, this is not a drill." Even before the professor reacted, I felt it in my stomach, because the room changed. That's the best way I can explain it. When a real lockdown happens, the air feels heavier. People stop being students and start being animals that are listening for danger. The professor stood up so fast his chair scraped loud enough to make people jump. He went to the door and peeked into the hallway like he could see the whole situation from one crack. Then he shut it and flipped the lock. And I remember this clearly because it's the first time I noticed the problem. He pulled the handle to confirm it was locked, and it moved. Not open, but it moved enough that it didn't feel right. He tried again. Same thing. He whispered, "You've got to be kidding me." A few students laughed, not because it was funny, but because that's what people do when they're scared and their brain wants to pretend it's normal. Then the professor did something that probably seemed smart at the time. He grabbed a chair and jammed it under the handle. We all moved away from the windows and sat on the floor in the back corner like we'd been taught since middle school. Nobody spoke. We just listened. At first it was only the building sounds, ventilation, a distant door somewhere. Then, running. Footsteps above us, then on our floor. Heavy, fast, not like someone late for class. Someone was sprinting. A girl near me whispered, "Is that police?" And the worst part is nobody answered, because nobody knew. Then we heard a shout outside in the hallway, 2 voices overlapping, one angry, one panicked. Something slammed against a wall, like a shoulder hitting drywall. The professor raised one finger to his lips and mouthed, "Quiet." And then, right as the shouting got closer, our door handle rattled. Not a gentle check, a hard, impatient yank. The chair we jammed under the handle shifted slightly, and for 1 second, the door moved inward like it might actually open. I remember my hands sweating so bad I had to wipe them on my jeans. Then a voice on the other side, male, breathless, angry, said, "Open the damn door, open it." No uniform voice, no calm authority, just a person, a scared person or a dangerous one. We didn't know. The professor leaned down close to the door and said quietly, "Identify yourself." The voice snapped back, "I'm staff. Open up." That didn't help. If anything, it made it worse, because staff would have had a key, right? Another yank. The chair screeched. And then, this is the part that made my skin crawl, the voice lowered, like it was talking only to us. You don't want to be in there when he comes around the corner. Silence. Then footsteps, moving away quickly. Like whoever it was had decided we weren't worth the time. We stayed frozen for what felt like an hour. It was probably 10 minutes. Then the intercom crackled again, and the same security voice came back, shakier than before. Attention. Remain in lockdown. Suspect is unaccounted for. Avoid hallways. Await further instructions. That line, unaccounted for, stuck with me, because it meant they didn't know where the person was, and our door wasn't really locked. After another 10 minutes, we heard something that made the professor's face go pale. A key turning in our door. The handle moved down, the chair held, but the door still pushed inward slightly, and then it stopped, like whoever was on the other side realized something. They didn't keep trying, they just left. When we were finally released, campus police were in the hallway, and we were herded out like cattle. Nobody told us what happened. Students did what students always do: gossip. By that afternoon, the story was, someone had been seen with a weapon near the student center. Then it became, it was an ex-student. Then it became, it was probably nothing. But that night, my friend who worked part-time in facilities texted me something simple. Lockdown was real, and the guy checked doors. I stared at that message for a long time, because I couldn't stop thinking about our door, how it almost opened, how the chair was the only reason it didn't, and how whoever tried to get in had a key. Story 2. The wrong text. About 2 weeks after that lockdown, people stopped talking about it. That's another weird thing about campus life. Something terrifying can happen, and then midterms come, and parties and deadlines, and everyone just moves on. I moved on too, until another lockdown happened. This time it was late afternoon. I was in the library, second floor, in that quiet section where even breathing feels illegal. I remember I was working on a group project that nobody in the group cared about except me. My phone was on silent, laptop open, notes everywhere. Then my phone lit up. A group chat from a friend named Mel. She texted, "Are you safe? Lockdown." I didn't even look up at first, because in my head it was probably a drill. Then I noticed something. The library staff, like the older lady who always walked around telling people to stop eating chips, she looked tense. And another staff member was moving fast down the aisle, whispering to students, "Pack up, now," quietly. The intercom in the library didn't work well. Instead, it was this speaker system that sounded like someone talking through a fan. But I heard it. "Lockdown. This is not a drill." Instantly, the whole floor shifted. People snapped laptops shut, chairs scraped. Someone dropped a metal water bottle and it clanged so loud everyone jumped. Staff began pulling these heavy curtains over the tall windows. That's when I got the second text from Mel. "He's inside." I typed back, "Who?" No reply. I stood up and looked toward the staircase, and I saw security, actual campus security, moving up the stairs, 2 of them, not running, but fast walking in that way that says, "We're trying not to panic you, but we're panicking." Then my phone buzzed again. A message from an unknown number, just a screenshot. It was a text thread, blurry, clearly forwarded too many times. But I could read the line. "Don't lock the doors. He can't be trapped." At first I thought it was fake, like someone making a sick joke. But then the library doors at the bottom of the stairs opened, not wide, just enough to let someone slip in. And I heard it. A soft thump, like a shoulder brushing a doorframe. And then footsteps, slow, unhurried, coming up. Everyone around me went still. A guy near me whispered, "Why would someone come up here?" I didn't answer because I was thinking the same thing. The library was a dead end, quiet, hidden. If you were hunting for people who were hiding, you'd come here. The footsteps stopped halfway up the stairs. I heard someone breathing. Then a voice, not loud, almost casual. Hey, open up, I'm staff." My stomach dropped. The same words, the same trick. I watched the stairwell, the corner where you'd see someone's head first. And then the security guard, one of them, came up from below and he looked furious. He hissed, "Back down, now." Then he froze. like he'd seen something. He raised his radio, but didn't speak into it right away, and then he said something that didn't make sense until later. "Who gave you access?" I couldn't hear the reply, but I saw the security guard's posture change. Not fear, exactly. More like recognition, like he knew who he was dealing with. The guard spoke again, sharper. "Step back from the door. Do it now." There was a pause. Then I heard the soft click of something. Not a gun, not metal, more like a phone being turned off. And then footsteps going back down the stairs. Faster. The guards ran after him. The library stayed locked down for almost an hour. When they finally released us, nobody explained anything clearly. They just said it was a safety issue and resolved. But as I walked out, I overheard a staff member whisper to another, "He got in through that service hallway again." Service hallway. That made me think of keys and doors that don't lock properly. That night, Mel finally texted me back. I texted the wrong person. I meant to text my boyfriend. I accidentally texted the group chat. I said lockdown, and then the guy replied back to me. I read it twice. Then I wrote, "What guy?" Mel replied, "The guy we're not supposed to talk about. The one who used to work security." I stared at my phone, because now I had a new thought that felt worse than the original fear. What if the lockdown wasn't just some random threat? What if it was someone who knew the campus better than the campus knew itself? Story 3. The door that wouldn't stay locked. By this point, campus felt off, not constantly scary, just like you were aware of exits all the time. Like you notice doors more. You notice locks. You notice how easy it would be for someone to get somewhere they shouldn't be. And then, because life is cruel, I got assigned a job in one of the worst places possible for someone who now thinks like that. I got a part-time job helping the IT department. It wasn't glamorous. Mostly moving equipment, checking cables, helping professors who forgot their passwords. And the IT office was in the basement of the same old building where my statistics class had been. Basement level. Concrete floors, exposed pipes, fluorescent lights that flicker like they're tired. There was one main door down there that led into the service corridor, and that door didn't lock right. Everyone knew it. People joked about it. The senior IT guy, his name was Warren, would always say, "Don't worry, it's on the list." But on the list meant nothing ever happened. They put in maintenance requests. They got closed. Someone would say fixed, and it would still wiggle open if you pulled hard enough. One evening, I was down there late. Not crazy late. Maybe 7:30 p.m. Campus was quieter. Less foot traffic. I was alone because Warren had gone upstairs to help someone. I was in the little IT room eating chips, scrolling my phone, enjoying the fact that the basement was cool compared to the rest of campus. Then my computer screen flashed. An email notification. Subject line: Lockdown initiated. Do not exit. I froze, because that wasn't a drill email. The IT department didn't send those unless something was real. Then, above me, I heard it. The intercom. Muffled through floors, but clear enough. Lockdown. This is not a drill. I jumped up, turned off the lights in the IT room, and moved instinctively toward the door. But then I stopped. Because the main basement door was the problem. If someone came down here, I couldn't rely on that lock. I grabbed a metal chair and jammed it under the handle. Then I grabbed something heavier, an old box of outdated routers, and shoved it against the door too. My heart was pounding so hard I could hear it over the hum of the lights. I texted Warren, "Are you okay?" No reply. I texted again, "Where are you?" Nothing. Then I heard footsteps on the stairs, coming down, not running, walking like they owned the place. The basement stairwell door creaked open. I held my breath. A flashlight beam swept across the hallway. I stayed still behind a cabinet, watching the light move like a slow search. Then a voice called out, not loud, almost friendly. "Hey, anyone down here?" I didn't answer. A pause. Then the voice said something that made my blood run cold. "You can't keep hiding behind broken locks." My hands went numb, because that wasn't a random person's line. That sounded like someone who knew about the door. The footsteps got closer. The flashlight beam slid across the IT room doorway. Then the beam hit the main basement door, and the light stopped there for a long time, like whoever it was staring at it. Then I heard the chair shift slightly, just a tiny scrape, like someone had tested the handle. Then another sound, a key ring, the metallic jingle of multiple keys. Then silence again, a long silence. And then, the door handle moved down. The chair resisted. The box of routers pressed harder. The door rattled but didn't open. On the other side, the person exhaled slowly, like they were disappointed. Then they said in a calm voice, almost amused, "Still doesn't lock, they never learn." Then the footsteps retreated, back toward the stairs. I didn't move for a full minute after the stairwell door creaked shut. When Warren finally texted me back, it was one message: "Stay hidden, do not come up, it's him." I typed, "Who?" Warren replied, "Former security, fired, still has keys, we've been telling them." Still has keys. That's the part that hit me like a brick. Not a random intruder, not a stranger. Someone who belonged there once. Someone who knew routines, who knew where students hide, who knew which doors didn't lock, who knew how the campus fixed things by ignoring them until it became a disaster. That lockdown ended after about 40 minutes. We were told it was a trespassing incident and no one was harmed. But when I went to leave the basement later, I noticed something on the door frame, a fresh scratch, right near the lock plate, like someone had been forcing it. And right below that scratch, stuck between the frame and the plate, was a small strip of folded paper. I pulled it out. It was a campus maintenance sticker, the kind they put on completed work orders. It said, "Repaired, door secure, verified," and it was dated 3 days earlier. Story 4. The late reveal. After the basement incident, I did what a normal person would do. I tried to quit. Not dramatically, just politely. I told Warren I didn't feel comfortable staying late anymore. Warren didn't argue. He looked tired, like he'd been tired for months. He said, "I don't blame you." Then he did something I didn't expect. He leaned closer and lowered his voice, and he said, "Do you want to know the worst part?" I didn't answer. I just nodded. Warren said, "He's not guessing." Then he paused, like he was deciding whether to go further, and he said, "He's not checking doors randomly. He's checking the ones that don't report." That didn't make sense at first. So I asked, "Report what?" Warren looked around the hallway like someone might be listening. Then he said, "During lockdowns, certain doors are tied into the system. They log when they open. They log who scanned in. They log when they lock." He swallowed. "And that basement door? That door isn't in the system." I felt my throat tighten. Warren continued, "You know why it never gets fixed? Because the building manager doesn't want to admit it's not compliant." He laughed once, humorless. "So they slap a sticker on it. Repaired. Verified." He stared at me. And meanwhile, someone who used to work security knows exactly which doors are blind spots. That night I couldn't sleep. So I did something stupid. A human mistake. I went down a rabbit hole. I searched old campus news posts, student forums, local articles. I typed the former security guy's name that Warren had quietly told me. Not many results. But one result came up that made my skin go cold. It was a minor local court posting. Nothing dramatic, just a short record. It referenced a restraining order request, filed by a woman who worked at the university. The details were minimal, but one line stood out. Respondent retained unauthorized access methods. Unauthorized access methods, that's what they called it. Keys, codes, maybe copies. And then, buried deeper, I found an old thread on a student forum. Someone wrote about a weird lockdown from years ago, before I even attended. They said the same thing. He was outside the classroom doors whispering like he knew who was inside. Another comment replied, "My friend in maintenance said the locks were never fixed, they just said they were." And then someone else wrote something that made my mouth go dry. They wrote, He doesn't want to hurt people. He wants to prove he can get anywhere. I stared at that line for a long time, because it explained the behavior, the slow footsteps, the calm voice, the way he didn't force the door endlessly, just tested, noted, moved on, like a demonstration, like he was sending a message. I finally fell asleep around 4 a.m. And the next morning, there was an email from the university. Subject line, lockdown policy update. It was written in that corporate calming tone. It said they were reviewing procedures and upgrading security protocols. But at the bottom was a line that felt like it was aimed directly at me. If you notice any doors that do not properly lock, report them immediately. I laughed out loud when I read that. Not because it was funny, because it was too late. That same day, I went to work early. Daylight, normal hours. Warren wasn't there yet. The basement hallway felt normal. Still gross. Still humming lights. I looked at the door. The same door. The chair wasn't there now. No box of routers, nothing blocking it. Just the lock and the verified sticker. Then I noticed something new. A second sticker. Fresh. Dated that morning. Same stamp. Repaired. Door secure. Verified. I put my hand on the handle and turned it slowly. It moved. Not fully open, but it moved. Still. Not. Locked. And then I saw it. Right above the fresh sticker, carved lightly into the metal frame like someone had used a key tip or a small blade. See you next drill. I didn't tell anyone. That's the part I feel the worst about. I didn't report it. Because in that moment, I realized something that made me feel sick. If I reported it, they'd slap another sticker on it. They'd send an email. They'd review procedures. And the door would still be broken. So I left. I quit that job. I avoided that building. I finished my semester like a coward. And nothing else big happened while I was there. No headline, no tragedy. Just those lockdowns, those voices, those footsteps, and that door that wouldn't stay locked. But here's why I'm telling you now. A few months after I graduated, I went back to campus for a friend's event. I avoided the old building without even thinking about it. Then I walked past the side entrance and saw a group of new students being led by a tour guide. The guide was smiling, cheerful, pointing out fun facts. And as they passed the entrance, one student reached back and pulled the door. Just messing with it. Just being bored. The door popped open slightly. The student laughed and pushed it shut. And the tour guide, without missing a beat, reached over and clicked the lock, like it was normal, like it was nothing. Then she said, still smiling, "Sometimes these old doors stick." And the group kept walking. But as they walked away, I looked at the door frame. And there it was again. A maintenance sticker. Different date. Same words. Repaired. Door secure. Verified. I don't know if they ever caught him. I don't know if he ever hurt anyone. I don't even know if he's alive. But I do know one thing. If your safety depends on a lock, and the lock doesn't work, eventually someone who knows that will come along, and they won't have to break in. They'll just let themselves in, and you won't even hear it over the intercom, because you'll think it's just another drill. End.